We were asked to start with a few words about ourselves, so I'd just like to start with a few words about who I am and where I come from. So who am I? I'm trained as a sociologist from the University of Oslo. I have a PhD in science and technology studies, where I did some work on electricity markets. And apart from that, I like candlelight dinners, good conversation, and moonlit walks on the beach. Anyway, the question is, why would they choose me as a sort of a national expert from our DSM agency? And I like to believe it's got to do with my very special skill set. I've done some work on end-user attitudes, energy efficiency policy, and I really use different methodologies. But really, I think it's got more to do with the place I work at the Norwegian University of Science and Technology, the Center for Energy and Society, which is a really strong research institution. We have more than 30 researchers on energy. We're an official Norwegian Center for Excellence in Research, and we have a 20-year history of energy research. So that was the advertisement. Anyway, over to Norwegian's Norway's energy system. It's based on hydro, about 100%, which is cheap, clean, and abundant in our case, which is actually a problem for investment in new renewables. We have a very centralized grid for production and transmission of electricity, so there's little small-scale production. But there's no denying when talking about Norwegian energy system that oil is a huge part of our economy. And it tends to actually distort our labor market and delay investment in renewables, but we don't want to complain too much. Anyway, we have a national DSM agency. It's called Enova. And one factor you need to remember about them is they have a huge budget, but they're actually quite few people. So they're very funding centered. They fund a lot of projects. They have direct investments in energy efficiency. They do experimental projects and a lot of information campaigns. So some of the DSM work that's being done by Enova and others is basically, mostly it's focused on 2 points. There's incentives work, which is funding schemes, subsidies, tax breaks for energy efficiency, and so forth. But there's also information work, especially regarding everyday activities. They'll tell you to shower less or lower the temperature and stuff like this. On the research side, we have actually a funding for a new comprehensive research effort into energy efficiency, which is multidisciplinary, multi-institutional, very well funded actually. And energy has been targeted as a priority research area, as an official policy of Norway. So that's really good. And actually, efficiency has it's own national subtask on these questions. And yet, we see that in terms of electricity use in Norway, it's flattened out and actually it's started to rise again these last couple of years. And energy intensity has been going up actually the last couple of years. So that's not good at all. What are some of the conditions that can be causing this? Well, one is that basically Norwegians use a lot of electricity. And it's due to that we use electricity to heat our homes, also because we have an electricity-intensive industry. But there's also the question of we have already clean energy. There's less incentive to actually save on the energy use itself. So that brings me over to some of the barriers. And one of them is, some of them are, of course, economic. Electricity is extremely cheap in Norway, but the installations to save on it are not. There are institutional barriers. The suppliers of electricity in Norway actually have responsibility to reduce demand, which is crazy. Anyway, we have more barriers. There are structural barriers. We have more single households in Norway. The houses are getting bigger and bigger, and this is, in terms of households, important. Politically, there's a reluctance among politicians to limit individual freedom to spend. And of course, there's always the short-termism of electoral politics. So, but there's even more. We have rebound effects that we know of. Like I said, energy intensity has actually been going up these last couple of years, which is not good. There are behavioral barriers, habits that tend to die slowly. And of course, in Norway, energy use is connected to questions of comfort and having a nice warm bath with lots of light. There are some drivers. There's a strong interest in energy efficiency. It's become chic in a way. So living clean can be a sort of a status signal. And there's increased funding for efficiency. And there's a refurbishing boom that has to do with our nice private economics in Norway right now. Which can go both ways, of course. What models are we working on? Well, there's always the economics side, which basically focuses on the price and equilibrium sort of stuff. There's engineering models which focus on finding potentials for efficiency gains, and of course there's always these techno-fix sort of things. And what these models does for politics is that, well, regulation in Norway is driven by an economic instrumental sort of rationality. You'll find the boards are filled with economists and engineers, and basically the Minister of Finance always has the last word on anything that has to do with energy efficiency. But there is hope. We find that behavior research is increasingly important. There are habits, practices, attitudes are being added, and the models that people are using are being updated, and there's a lot of interest into this. So the future looks bright. In terms of what I want to get out of this task, it's, well, I want to learn from examples from other countries, especially common theories, practices, institutions, all kinds of new examples. And of course, I was joking about the moonlit walks, but I do enjoy good discussions. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Great.